Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Pemko number 225 DPK. This is a this is a less common door bottom from Pemko. The fasteners came out of their little plastic, which is unusual. That never happens. Okay. This is an uncommon door bottom, even though at first glance you would say, whoa, that's really common. Yeah, its shape and its profile and its dimensional properties are all but very common. What sets the 225 apart is that this is meant for hollow metal doors. How is a hollow metal door different than a wood door? Well, it's not, but the difference that requires a unit specified for a hollow metal door is that if you look at the cross section, if you scroll down below, you'll see that the inside dimension of the unit is 1 13/16. So that's what makes this different. All other aspects of this are the same, but down here it's 1 13/16. Why? The standard units, like a 221, etc., those are 1 3/4. The difference is, if you try to put a standard one onto a hollow metal door, it's probably not going to fit really well. And the reasoning is this. If you take a caliper and put it onto a wood door, 1 3/4, 1 3/4 is 1.75. You put a caliper on it, and it won't be 1.75. It'll be 1.7, 1.71, right? 1.71 is really common. 1.715. I really never see them, you know, a true 1.75. Never, in fact. 1.68 I've seen. Now, 1.71 is only 40 thousandths of an inch difference. But the truth of the matter is that's more than a 32nd of an inch, one really little line on the tape measure. And that will make all the difference when you're trying to take a door bottom intended for 1 3/4 door and put it onto a door that's, you know, possibly thicker than that. So your regular units for 1 3/4 doors, they're going to work fine because the door is nominally smaller. The logic is you can't have a very poor analogy. 10 pounds of sausage in a 10-pound bag. That bag has to be larger than 10 pounds capacity. Both values can't reside in the same place at the same time. So they need to make this unit a little bit larger because a hollow metal door, it's not going to be 1.71. It's going to be 1.75. And in fact, I find at the bottom of the door or at the top of the door, they're slightly larger. And this is a 1/16 of an inch larger than 1 3/4. And that's because, depending on the gauge of the door, and a 20 gauge door will be a little bit lighter. 18 gauge door is standard. Well, you've got that U channel, and then you've got your face steel. And when you put your caliper on the bottom of the door where you're going to put this, it's going to be more than 1.75, or it has the potential to. You go with a 16 gauge door, it's going to be thicker because now the gauge of the steel is thicker. 14 gauge, that's for sure. A 14 gauge door with steel stiffened for sure is going to be 1 7/8. So the proper model to use, give you a little more opening size for a hollow metal door, would be the 225. And that's because, again, of that 1 13/16 preparation down here. Okay? You can see it's just a little heavy on 1 3/4. It's going to have an 1 1/8. Other than that, this is a standard door bottom. Only use it for hollow metal doors. Face on the one side is 1 1/8. Face on the small side, which would be 15/16. If it was me, I would certainly want the screws on the inside, is where I would want to put them. I would not want screws on the outside because that is an opportunity for rain to get in. I have seen screws on items that will, this is made of steel, that will rust and degrade over time, leaving a trail. So I would put the screws on the inside. That would be my opinion. Now, the other important part is 1/2 inch. From the bottom of the unit, according to their drawing, to the bottom of the seal is 1/2 inch. Up over here, it's a little heavy on 1/2 inch. So if you're going to use this with a hollow metal door that has a standard undercut of 3/4 inch, you're going to be looking at 1/4 inch rise thresholds. Okay, and that's great because 1/4 inch rise threshold is going to be quite small, flat, obviously handicap compliant. Traffic going over it, you know, you're presenting to the traffic through the doorway the smallest practically the smallest piece of threshold material that you can come up with. Slotted holes for easy adjustment. We'll talk about that in a moment. This is available in a mill aluminum finish, which is A, D for dark bronze, and G for gold. You can do it in a PK, which is their Pemko synthetic rubber, PemkoPrene, or V for vinyl. You would always want PemkoPrene. Vinyl you would only use if economy was the most important thing. Vinyl degrades with exposure to ultraviolet. Here in a southern climate, if there are photons, there's ultraviolet. If there's daylight, there's ultraviolet. It will just naturally degrade. So be mindful to use a better caliber material, unless economy is the most important thing. If your contract reads to supply door bottoms and you've got 300 of them, I can understand your logic of going with the less expensive of the two. Long term, you'll certainly want to avoid vinyl. You can see degradation, and while this won't get direct sunlight, it doesn't have to be direct in order to degrade it. Be mindful of that. Listed in the website in lots of different lengths. If you have need for a custom length, by all means let us know by ordering the next longest piece or pieces and indicate in the comment field the net length you'd like for us to cut the material out at, or back to, and we'll be happy to oblige. You can very likely see, I don't see it here, a dimple down at the end. That's not damage. That they will dimple it to prevent the insert from sliding. It's not been dimpled at all. This will slide easily in and out. You might want to just get a center punch and crimp that down ever so slightly. If you have need for a custom length, by all means, let us know by ordering the next longest piece or pieces and indicate in the comment field the net length that you'd like for us to cut the material back to. We'll be happy to provide that. The reasoning is this: not only will we cut it for you to the right length, but the slotted hole will be at the proper distance from the edge, and then the proper center to center as you go down. And that will save you from having to potentially re-drill a hole. If you have to take this 36-inch and cut it to 32-inch, you're probably going to eliminate that first slotted hole. That slotted hole is really nice to have because you can tailor it on the opening to account for maybe a sill that's not level, or maybe a door that is for some reason not perfectly rectangular. It also helps account for that drill bit that's maybe walked a little bit before it pierced into the door, into your steel door. And you really want to have that slotted hole to tailor that, just to make it fit really nice, correctly across the bottom. If you're installing this on a fire-rated door, you don't want to have too much seal that it prevents the closer from closing the door. Then you don't, if you're not self-closing and self-latching, you don't have a fire door at that moment. So tailoring it is the concept with those slotted holes. So if you'd like for us to cut it to length, just simply indicate that in the comment field. There is a link below this video to a document called Cut Sheet. Not very much to say there. It's just a cross-section of the dimensional properties. And then finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Pemko products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Any questions on the Pemko? This is their part number 225DPK, door bottom for hollow metal door applications, or any other Pemko product. Please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.